Welcome to another review of a vegan product, or in this case products, by me and Omnivore. Today we're going to be looking at Pukka vegan pies and Nooj. So let's get this Nooj stuff out of the way first, because that's probably the rather simpler part of the whole deal. This is a cashew paste. This is made from cashew nuts, water, rapeseed glycerin, sunflower oil and salt. And it's a cashew paste. It's designed with using it as a milk or cream substitute in mind. So it can be reconstituted in water to make a milk substitute, or it can be used for various things, creamy dessert topping, or you can make a garlic spread with it by mixing it with crushed garlic, it says on here. So that's Nooj. I'm going to be using it to enrich the mashed potatoes that I will be serving with these Pukka pies. Now, Pukka is the brand of meat pies most commonly seen, by me anyway, in fish and chip shops. Usually if you get a steak and kidney pie or a chicken and mushroom pie in a fish and chip shop, in my experience, it's Pukka brand pie. They've recently branched out into these vegan versions of their pies, which I'm interested to try. I've got a fairly high opinion of their regular pies. They're usually quite generously filled and they're usually quite tasty. So I've got fairly high hopes for these, or at least I'm going to hold them to a fairly high standard if they're going to be similar to the pies that they make. Anyway, let's have a look at the ingredients and then we'll go and cook them. So the chicken and mushroom pie, it's obviously not really chicken, is water, wheat flour, which contains wheat flour, calcium carbonate, iron, niacin, thiamine. Margarine contains palm and rapeseed fats, oils, water and salt. Soy protein chunks, 8%, contains rehydrated soya protein, sunflower and rapeseed oil, wheat gluten, spirit vinegar, yeast extract, soya protein isolate, flavouring, potato protein, salt, emulsifier, soya lecithins, sliced mushrooms, 8%, onion, modified maize starch, rapeseed oil, vegan cream alternative, 1%, which is soya, salt, garlic powder, black pepper, white pepper. That's the chicken style and mushroom, or chicken and mushroom. The minced steak and onion ingredients, we've got wheat flour, contains wheat flour, calcium carbonate, iron, niacin, thiamine. Margarine, well, I'll tell you what, the ingredients on this one are the same until we get down to flavourings, which are colour, plain caramel, salt, onion, modified maize starch, yeast extract, rapeseed oil, kibbled onion, salt, barley malt extract, onion powder, black pepper, wheat protein. So not that different, the ingredients, and that's that. So heating instructions: remove outer packaging but leave pie in foil container and place on a baking tray from chilled 25 to 30 minutes at 190 degrees Celsius. That's about it really. So they are just individual pies, and I'm going to try and serve them as part of a kind of pie and mash type of dinner, which is going to be also in keeping with these vegan pies, is going to be completely vegan. So my mashed potato is going to have some of this in it instead of cream or milk, and I've got some vegan spread which we can use instead of butter. So let's head to the kitchen and get this all sorted out. Okay, let's have a look and see what these pies look like before they're cooked. That's the steak and onion, so that's in a green wrapper. The foil trays are usually colour coded. Oh, that's in and that's the chicken and mushroom, which is in a green tray. They're usually colour coded. Okay, well the steak and onion's got stripes on it. The chicken and mushroom is just plain. So that's how we'll tell the difference. Usually the tray is colour coded. Yellow for chicken and mushroom, red for minced beef. Regardless, mince and onion is the one with the stripes on it. So those have got to go in the oven for 25 minutes. I will say they look kind of slightly pale. That's often the case with vegan pastry. Obviously there's no butter to go in there, it can't have an egg wash and so on, so they look a tiny bit on the pale side, but perhaps they'll brown up nicely. In the oven now for 25 minutes. So to go with this pie, we're just going to have some mashed potato and I think peas and carrots. Possibly the hottest day of the entire year so far, and I'm having a hot meal. So potatoes are chopped up and in water. We'll put those on in a moment when the pies have had a little bit of a head start. I'm cooking way more potato than I actually expect to use for this meal, because leftover mashed potato is great for bubble and squeak, or make potato cakes, fish cakes, whatever. So I'm making more potato than I think I need. While we're waiting for everything else to happen, I'm just going to have a taste of this Nooj creamy cashew paste. Drink it, bake it, cook it, shake it. Makes up to 1.5 litres. Nice gusset. Okay, well, just going to squeeze a bit out and taste it completely on its own. So it's a thickish, smooth paste. Very slight graininess to it. Reminds me a bit of coconut milk or coconut cream. Obviously nutty because it's made of cashew nuts. That's quite nice. Tastes creamy. It does taste like you could believe that had dairy of some sort in it. So prices, in case you're wondering, this Nooj was £3.50 for 150 grams, which is not cheap, but cashew nuts are not cheap anyway. The vegan Pukka Pies were £1.90 each, which is the exact same price as their meat-based counterparts. In Sainsbury's that happened to be. So those have had the full 30 minutes now. The pack says 25 to 30 minutes. And they do look a little bit paler than I would normally expect for this kind of brand and style of pie. So why not put them in for another 5 minutes? Well, I don't want to deviate from the instructions and then find that they're dry inside or anything like that. I'm going to probe the centre of the pie and just make sure that we've got up to a decent temperature. Yeah, it's up to 90 degrees in the centre of the pie. I think if I was to put them in the oven for longer, we might get a browner top, but I think we'd probably start to lose some moisture from the inside of the pie. So I'm going to stop there. That is as per the instructions. I think they're just going to look a little bit paler than the average pie. And I am just going to let these stand for 10 minutes or so while the potatoes are just finishing cooking. That won't do any harm at all. There's no joy in eating a scalding hot pie. So these will come down a bit in temperature, but they'll still be nice and warm inside. So mashed potatoes, I would normally add butter and maybe a bit of milk. We're going to use this non-dairy spread. It's based on vegetable oil and some of this Nooj, which is just mashed cashews. So mashews. And this will give it a kind of creaminess, I suppose. It does look quite inappropriate, doesn't it? Anyway, I think we'll start like that. Now I like my mashed potatoes kind of coarse and a bit lumpy. Your mileage may vary. So you'll very rarely see me mash potatoes until they're smooth and creamy, or pass them through a sieve or anything like that. If you want to do that, then more power to you. I don't prefer them like that, so I like them to have a bit of texture. And that is about right for me. So a little taste. Because we haven't seasoned these yet. They have got a dairy-like creaminess to them. So just a tiny bit of salt and a very little pepper, because Jenny's not awfully fond of it. I can add more at the table. White pepper would be more traditional for mashed potatoes, but black pepper is what I have to hand. Let's get everything to the table and give these pies a taste. So that's the chicken and mushroom pie, Jenny. Should be cool enough to handle now. They've been standing for a minute or two. Nice and crispy on the base. That's the steak and onion one. So, well, actually, let's get the other things dished up and then we'll do a little close-up of the pies being cut so we can see what the inside looks like. So pastry looks crisp, but it's not quite got that kind of shine and gloss to it that you might get from a non-vegan pastry. So that's what the inside of the chicken and mushroom one looks like. Let's have a look inside the steak and onion. Minced steak and onion. Again, it's not far from what I would expect for this kind of a pie, I don't think. The pastry's a bit softer, I think, and more softly flaky, less sort of crisply flaky. And wouldn't you think, Jenny?
Yeah.
So yeah. The pastry's just a bit kind of,
Too bad.
but it's pastry. Okay, I'm going to taste a bit of the pie just on its own first and see what that is like. It smells good. It tastes very good. Yep, that tastes really good. Do you want to try yours, Jenny?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah? Should I cut you a bit? Do you want to try a bit of the steak one? And do you want to do a little swapsies just for one tiny forkful or something? So there's one for you. So the exchange visit. So this is the chicken and mushroom. Chicken, or whatever it is a bit weirdly soft, isn't it?
Yeah.
but not in a bad way. It's just
No, that's
different.
right. This is all right.
I reckon the minced steak and onion is closer to the real thing than the chicken is.
You wouldn't know that was
But they're
there's not much
both-
in the way of mushroom in there.
Yeah, I can taste the mushrooms in there though.
Yeah.
Right, a bit of extra gravy on mine now that we've tried it on its own. Oh, I should try this mash actually, shouldn't I? This mash is made with a sort of dairy substitute made from cashews. It's nice. I wouldn't know that there are nuts in there. It doesn't taste of cashew nuts or anything. It just tastes creamy and pretty much what I would expect for mashed potato. Right, I'm going to move the camera out of the way and then we're going to eat our dinner and then I'll come back for conclusions. Right, well, 2 empty plates. So I had the minced steak and onion. Jenny had the chicken and mushroom. What do you reckon, Jenny?
Yeah, it was all right. Could have done with some more bigger mushrooms in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously in a pie like that, where it's, you know, heading for the sort of vegan thing, I think there's probably no excuse for not having more mushrooms in there, really, is there? They probably just should have been a little bit more generous on the filling, perhaps.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. I thought the chicken and mushroom one, I thought the chicken stuff was, the texture was a little bit weird and gummy, but it was okay. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
it's
It
fine,
wasn't.
yeah.
It wasn't firm like chicken breast meat would be. Not quite. The minced steak and onion, I actually thought that was really good. The texture of the mince was really good. I could see this one's won an award. The texture was really good. The flavour was really good. I think if you gave me that and told me it was a minced beef and onion pie, I wouldn't suspect that you were pulling the wool over my eyes. I think probably the only thing that would really give the game away that this is a vegan pie for me is the pastry. The pastry wasn't quite as glossy and flaky and savoury as you'd get with a meat-based pie, which had maybe an egg glaze on it. What did you think of the minced beef one?
I thought that was pretty close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think of the two, and there is another one actually. There's a cheddar and ham or something style one, smoked ham and cheddar or something, which I couldn't find in the shops, so we just had these two. But I think of the two, the minced steak and onion's the best. But I think both of them are actually acceptable, aren't they? They're both good. But I think I would probably still prefer a real chicken and mushroom pie over that one. Whereas that one, if I was going to have a minced steak and onion pie, not my favourite pie, I see no reason not to choose that. To be honest, I see no reason not to switch to that. The same price, same kind of flavour, really. The downside of this is that my favourite pie is steak and kidney, and I can't see them ever making a vegan steak and kidney pie, or even anything that comes close. So perhaps the closest you'd get would be steak and ale and mushroom or something. Anyway, oh yeah, the mashed potatoes. So the mashed potatoes, I did actually taste a little bit of cashew nut in 1 or 2 mouthfuls. What did you think, Jenny?
Couldn't taste it.
Couldn't taste it?
No.
So that was just mashed potatoes?
Just mashed potatoes,
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. So that was just kind of completely normal. I mean, did you think it tasted like it had dairy in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it tasted like it had something creamy in there and buttery, but there was only cashew and the vegetable-based spread. Right, I feel we need to give this Nooj a bit more of a taste because the primary purpose for this is as a substitute for milk, although the pack says it's got lots of other uses. So directions for use: just add water to make a deliciously nutty drink. Start by adding a splash of water to 3 tablespoons of Nooj, about 45 grams. So we're going to mix them up and make a kind of, well, we're going to make cashew milk, but from concentrate. So we will go by the instructions. We'll put 45 grams of this in there. Okay. 46, close enough. And then we are to add a total of 400 ml of water, but not all at once. So we'll just zero this scale and start with a little splash of water, about 40 grams, so 40 ml. And it says to combine it this way first, I suppose just so you don't end up with so many lumps. I'll just continue whisking that until it's completely smooth. And now we'll make that up to 400 ml, which obviously is 400 grams because it's water. I'll just transfer this into the other jug just to make it a bit easier to whisk, but also to, yeah, we still got some little lumps there. So that is supposedly a kind of substitute for milk. Looks a lot like milk. It's probably a slightly more brownish, slightly greyish colour, but it's not completely wrong looking for what I would expect milk to look like. Tastes a bit watery, I think. Okay as a drink, but I would say that tastes a lot like skimmed milk. It's really lacking a little bit in the body, but anyway, something else I want to try. So the other thing I want to try is just adding it to coffee directly. So camera wasn't rolling, but I've already got a little chunk of it in there in my coffee. I thought the heat of the coffee might make that easier to combine, but not exactly. And I think that's going to need a little bit more so we can taste it properly. So what I'm trying to evaluate here is whether, if you needed a dairy-free substitute for milk, whether it would make sense for you to just keep one of these in the fridge at work, because that's potentially more convenient. The best before date on it is quite long, although it does say use within 5 days of opening. So I suppose that's kind of similar to UHT milk anyway. A little bit of separation there in the hot drink, so I'll just give that another little stir. Okay, so Nooj as a substitute for milk or cream in coffee. It doesn't quite look right. It looks almost like it's split a little bit, but let's give it a taste. Interestingly, lacking that sort of full-bodied flavour that you would get from real milk. So something of a slight disappointment there. Let's try it with a bit more of this mixed up stuff so I can cool it down. Yeah, at that level, and there's quite a lot of it in there now, it does start to taste like a milky coffee. However, I did put quite a bit of that in there. Apologies for the background noise, by the way. Some workmen doing stuff outside. I did put quite a bit of that in there, so that would make quite an expensive drink, I think, as opposed to just using a carton of some dairy-free milk substitute like soya or even a cashew milk in a carton. I think would probably work out cheaper than that, and I don't know, maybe this is more convenient if you don't want all of the water. So I think this worked really well in that mashed potato as a substitute for cream without making the potato too wet. As a milk substitute, I think you're probably better off buying it in a carton, ready-made, ready to use. So there we go, Pukka vegan pies and Nooj. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.